What's going on, guys? I'm Combat Craig, and I'm going off script. I looked at my app today, and starting to think about the yard again. So if yards bore you, I'm going to be making some yard analogies. And I was just looking at my journal here, which you should have a journal for your VA claim. And I was kind of just like the whole point of this video, my videos are edited and all that kind of stuff. I want to kind of go off script, talk about VA claim stuff, and kind of taking the VA claims process that I learned and how I applied it to how I tackled my lawn. So we're going to try to go unedited all the way through here. So before I back up and start going through my lawn journal here, I grew up in California, and they encourage you to plant rocks and not water. So moving to Idaho, I have a well. I have an endless supply of water. When I moved into this place, it just kind of took me a few, and I was like, wow, there's like some grass-looking stuff. It's green, the salad. I want to make it a lawn. So kind of really did a half-assed attempt initially, kind of the throwing as much stuff up against the wall as possible kind of deal. And last season, I buckled down and got serious, and I have a plan for this season as well. So I want to kind of talk through, how I prepared myself for that, and then how a lot of this stuff just came straight out of learning how to win my VA claim. So my VA claim went down like this. I woke up, figured out like, oh, this is about medical evidence. I need to go get some. And it was a lot. And I didn't need to learn everything at once. I just needed to learn what I needed to learn to win. So medical evidence means doctors. Objective medical evidence, subjective medical evidence, learning the difference between the two. Looking at my C file, like going in and looking at my claims file and looking at the negative medical evidence that's being used against me or hindering me. Like you have to go look. And then, there's a lot of things out of my control, like what's the C&P examiner going to do? What's the VA rater going to do? How are they going to rate me? But at least I could set myself up to not be completely clueless like I was when I had VSOs that sucked, file my claim for me. And I just didn't even know that you could do it yourself, I guess. And then if I did know that, I probably would have been like, this is too hard. But now since I'm on the other side of this do-it-yourself VA claim stuff, that's the only way to do it, man. You have to do it yourself. You have to be involved in your own claim, and it's worth it. I guarantee you it's going to be worth it. The money that you're going to get and the benefits you're going to get for the rest of your life, it is worth it to stay on top of that and put in effort and spin those wheels, keep getting new medical evidence, get better medical evidence, understand what you're up against, that kind of stuff. So now I'm going to hop back to the lawn. So I don't really have much of a plan for my lawn. Got a push mower, and I was probably trying to push mow 10,000 square feet of weeds. And that's pretty big, like the average yard's like 5,000. And but I got a mower, and I was dragging hoses all over the place. And, I threw some seed down here and there. I just really didn't have a clue. And I was like, all right. Beginning of about this time last year, I decided I was going to actually, tackle my lawn with a strategy. So in order to grow stuff, you need water. Dragging hoses all over the place is stupid. So I got irrigation installed. That wasn't a do-it-yourself kind of thing. And, that's kind of like it was with the VA claim. There's a lot of stuff that I can do myself. You can't do the doctor stuff yourself, so you're going to need to go hire a doctor for that. So I know that I could do the mowing myself. I know I could do the fertilizing. I can identify invasive anything. They're called weeds. If you didn't plant them and you don't want them growing, they all fall in the weeds category. So I was like, all right, I could tackle the weeds, but the sprinklers, I'm going to hire somebody. So I hired somebody, and I expanded my lawn in the process. So I went to 15,000 square feet instead of 10. So got that in, and then figured out what I needed to do to prep the ground as best as I could. Planting in the spring isn't the best. Fall's actually better. Especially like right now, my grass is finally dormant. It's finally asleep. That's why I haven't been talking about it. But it's waking up here in probably about 6 weeks, according to my little journal. So I threw down a bunch of got some good caliber Kentucky bluegrass, aerated it, seeded it. And, you can't really do pre-emergent with weeds. Couldn't really do too much about the crabgrass stuff because that's there. So the strategy was figure out what my pH level was, because pH is everything. I have alkaline soil, so I have high pH, 8.1. I went and did a soil test. This is my crossover analogy. The soil test is like my C file. Like I went and got my C file and looked. Guessing what your pH is and the optimum conditions. That doesn't work. I got a soil probe, stuck it in there, about 5 different spots, and I sent in a soil sample so I could figure out where I was at. And I did that probably in March. Got a journal app. Got the sprinklers installed. Put the seed down. Leveled it out a little bit, and then I covered it up with peat moss. Peat moss is organic-ish. It was a ton of peat moss. That was an expensive endeavor. But I did pretty good, and I had water. So sun and water, I had that going on. And another reason why it's not good to plant grass in the spring is your little baby grass grows. Kentucky bluegrass is like 6 weeks, and they mix in... I can't remember what the other one is, a fescue or something like that. Ryegrass, they mix in rye with it. And that stuff grows faster than bluegrass, but basically it takes 6 weeks for bluegrass to get established. And then you go right into summer, right into 90 degrees. And I live in Idaho, so it's a cool season lawn. And all of our grass types, cool season grass types, they start to check out at 85 degrees, and it was in the 90s for a while. So I knew that I had a fighting chance getting through that if I could water it. And basically, my lawn was a marsh, whatever. There's an argument to be made whether that was a good idea, but I didn't lose a bunch of grass, and it kept growing during the summer when it was, too hot. So then I was pretty happy with the results. And I started to learn about the weeds that I was dealing with. All weeds, like the broadleaf weeds, those are really easy to deal with. Got a backpack sprayer. I'm on an acre property, so it's either green or it's dead. So I run glyphosate everywhere on my property that's not grass, because I don't want weeds growing out there in the field. I don't even want a field. And then as far as on the grass goes, I have this little app called Picture This, and I was taking pictures of stuff and identifying weeds. And then I'd go down to the local nursery and ask them, hey, what is this? I think it's this. So I was identifying stuff, and a lot of this stuff I was able to do it myself. The grass part, or the weed part, another thing that I knew about spraying weeds was Home Depot and Lowe's aren't where you go. That stuff's like child's play stuff. You have to go to an actual landscape place. So there's a place called Site One. I think it used to be called John Deere or something. Went there. It's basically like a landscaping contractor place, but they have a one guy, Dave, in Idaho Falls. He deals with retail people. So Dave hooked me up with the seed and hooked me up with some starter kit kind of stuff. And when I came back to him and showed him some pictures, and, I'd come back and, hey, I want to try to adjust the pH, and, hey, try some of this stuff. And by the end of the season in November, I went back and I showed him where I was at, showed him some drone flyover stuff. And he's like, damn, dude, like you're actually doing it. So hopping back over to VA claims land, I see a lot of you guys doing that. And that's what I say. Wow, he's actually doing it, or she's actually doing it. You have to do it on your own. I can't give you the answers because I'm not a doctor. I'm not accredited. I'm not looking at the facts. You have the facts. It's your claim. There's no rush. And, you'll either get paid or you won't. That's up to you. But as far as my interaction with you goes, I have my boot camp. Sign up or not, that's fine. And, I like when you guys come back a year later or 6 months later. Like, dude, I got movement. I listened to what you said about nexus letters or whatever, medical evidence, and you're doing it. So that's my comparison. I had the guy at Site 1 telling me, hey, I'm doing it. So I ended up, hopping back over to Lawnville now. I ended up with, decent looking lawn by the end of the year. And one thing that kind of makes it fun and keeps it going, I see a chiropractor once a week, sometimes twice a week. And he planted his lawn about a month after mine. So he really planted his lawn into the heat of the summer. And he planted an acre of lawn, which I think is 43,000. So I'm at 15, he's at 43. Doctor, bigger money, bigger lawn, bigger problems. Great at everything. He started from scratch. I basically tore up the yard and just added into what I had and then figured I'd deal with the weeds afterwards, which ended up being a good idea. So I talked to my doctor and hey, what about this strategy? What about that strategy? He's doing, he actually put his sprinklers in himself too. I was like, no thanks. But I talk to my doctor every week. Like right now we're buried under snow and it's like, how's the grass doing, dude? Sleeping like it should be, because in 6 weeks from now or 2 months, whenever it is, once the temperature starts coming up to 40 degrees, it's going to start growing. And once it gets to 45, there's these different temperatures that you have to keep an eye on. So we still talk about good, let's let our little grass rest so we could push it really hard out of the gate for spring. Another thing that I guess I'm bringing the chiropractor up is chiropractors, they're doctors, but they're a little different. And, I've done the painkiller thing and surgery thing, and I've got chronic fatigue syndrome, chronic pain syndrome. I have pain all over the place. And, when my plantar fasciitis acts up, he's on my feet. When my carpal tunnel / ulnar nerve from my failed neck surgery acts up, he adjusts my hands. My knees are bad. My elbow, the pain's endless. But I go in and do the neck adjustment and the back adjustment and then, whatever else. So I ask him questions like, what is this? Explain the ulnar nerve to me. He's like, the pinch started up here after your failed surgery. It goes down, might be around your elbow, but it goes down here. And, he's like giving me stuff to look up. And then I go look up the words, like show me in your doctor book the words, or let me take a picture of that stuff. And then I go and I look it up. And when I come back to him, I'll have learned something. So I think he kind of likes, he likes that he can explain something to me, doctor to layman style, and then I'll come back with something, an understanding, a little bit better understanding of what I'm up against, what he's trying to do, how much of a moving target random pain is, and something I'm going to have to deal with for the rest of my life. So I think that analogy is he seems to be more willing to talk to me and give me terms because he knows I'm going to go look it up and then come back with some insight instead of him just rambling on about a bunch of terms and goes in one ear and one out, out the other. Same thing with you guys. You need to learn the difference between the Veterans Benefits Administration and the Veterans Health Administration. They have nothing to do with each other. One does health care and the other one does benefits. And I use air quotes because I don't think they do a very good job at either of them, but you need to know which one you're talking to. When you're doing anything that's a claims action, that's the Veterans Benefits Administration. When you're doing anything with health care, that's the Veterans Health Administration. You need to learn that on your own. You don't need to do it overnight. Like I said, however long it takes you, if it takes you 2 years to wrap your head around this stuff, that's cool. There's no hurry. It took me 27 years before I figured it out. If you're thinking you're losing money right now and you need to go rifle in some claims all willy-nilly style, I'm going to tell you how that story ends. It ends with claim denied. And, you know, you might get a little lucky, but we don't want to go for a little lucky. We want to go for like strategy. And this makes sense. And I see evidence here. They might not see it, but I know it's there. At least you file your claim and you know you can appeal it if you get the decision you don't like because they just ignored your medical evidence. But if you're at the beginning stages of this, start wherever you can. Start with what is VA law? Start with the combined ratings table. VA math. How does it work? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. Go figure out why it doesn't add up. I'm not a big math guy, and it took me a while to get my head wrapped around the combined ratings table, and I still use a disability calculator, but I understand the concept, and I understand it well. Took me a long time, right? I'm in a lot of this stuff. I'm making videos and trying to be helpful to you guys. So I have to learn something, and I got to know what I'm talking about. You know, I definitely make mistakes, but I can't come up here winging it like I literally am now. All right, back to lawn care mode. Told you I was going to jump around. So I have this thing called Yard Mastery. It's a little app. You probably can't see it. I was just kind of looking at this. I was like, oh, okay. First date I made a journal entry was March 21st. That's why I was like, 6 weeks. I'm going to be doing something out there. Right now, I'm kind of like wrapping up. I'm getting my strategy together. I threw down some Milorganite, which is pretty generic-ish stuff. I sprayed broadleaf weeds, liquid aeration, real aeration. Started addressing my pH issue. You have to put in the soil balancer stuff. Sprayed a bunch of glyphosate on the parts that were full-blown crabgrass. It's also called orchard grass, stuff I wanted to nuke. Waited for that, you know, for the time. It was probably 2 weeks before I seeded. Then I finally threw down the grass seed. After the grass seed, it was water, 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 right? And then after about 6 weeks, I started throwing down, then I started attacking the weeds. So the grass has to get strong enough so it can even handle the weed killer, or the weed killer is just going to wipe out your grass. So I might have come in a little early, but it was about 6 weeks before I started with the weed killer. More soil balancer, more weed killer, more soil balancer, planted more grass seed, weed killer, right? Getting gnarlier weed killer. I have a backpack sprayer, those little pump kinds. And these are things that you learn, but you have to actually do it to learn, right? So the little pump up ones, those things are just crap, especially 15,000 square feet. So I got like a Ryobi thing from Home Depot for $150. That thing was crap. Plastic fittings, all that kind of stuff. But I used it, and at the end of the season, that last visit I told you about when I went and saw Dave at Site 1, he sent me packing with a new backpack sprayer. It was a pretty good price, but I was ready for it, even though, you know, it probably would have been a better purchase going into spring. But this thing has way more battery power, steel tips, those air fitting things, quick connect tips, and it's got a big wand on it. Everything's metal, and I can just, you know, walk around like it's amazing compared to the Ryobi. Now my Ryobi is going to be my glyphosate only for the field. I don't need to do all the rinsing and stuff. That thing's going to be my glyphosate thing, and then I have my kick-ass backpack sprayer. So I think that pretty much covers I pretty much just constantly did that. So I'm trying to get to what I'm going to do now. So the first thing I'm going to do, once the ground thaws, is do another soil test. Did I move the needle at all? How much? A soil test it's not like, oh, wow, I have high pH. My last reading was 8.1, and it should be 6.5. So there's not a whole lot you could do. Like if you have a acidic soil, like you're in the east, you throw lime down. I think it's called elemental sulfur if you're on the other side of the Mississippi. I used a different product because I wanted to spread it, and I didn't want big rocky lime things or that white powder stuff blowing all over the place. So I spent all last season applying the neutralizer stuff. So I start off with a soil test. Did I move the needle? Where am I at? Then my next step is apply pre-emergent heavily. I planted enough grass, and I'm not aerating again, because when you aerate, you chew up the grass. When you chew up the grass, you don't know what kind of junk you're going to wake up underneath there. I live next to a potato field in farmland. There's all sorts of invasive stuff floating around here, and birds bringing in stuff, and Clyde's probably bringing in weeds I don't want in my yard. So I don't want to disturb that stuff. So you go with pre-emergent. My grass is established, and I hose that down in fall, and I'm going to hose it down first thing this spring, and get the pre-emergent down. And basically, it's a pre-emergent. The weed germinates, and as it's coming up, it stops or stunts all germination, pretty much. And then my grass isn't going to be affected because it's already established and it's been planted for a year now. Now, one thing that I noticed that I didn't want to bite off last year was my yard's pretty uneven. So I'm going to get some sand, and I found this spreader you can rent, and I'm going to need a lot of sand. And I'm going to level the lawn with sand. So I'm going to go over every part of my lawn right before the growing season, or right when the lawn's starting to grow, and put probably like an inch down. There's a lot of spots that there's crevices and really uneven stuff. But if you dump too much sand down, you're going to smother the lawn. So, get a good spreader thing and get a base of sand down. And I'll probably level in spring. And then right now, I'm going to level in the fall as well. You don't do anything during the summer. Because the grass is under stress, and if you you have cold season lawn and no irrigation, your summer dormancy works the same way as winter dormancy. It just checks out, and then it wakes back up in the fall. So I don't want to do that. I want to push it all the way through summer. So I'm not going to smother it with sand until fall. My mower, I got a 0 turn last year, so that push mower, that doesn't work, and I know that about myself. I can do the weed whacking. That's cool. The gas blower, that thing was a piece of shit. So I got an Ego, battery blower, because I hate fighting with that thing. Rah, rah, rah. So my 0 turn works. I do have a gas weed whacker. I'm going to retire that. Probably get an Ego, and then I have the blower, so I can mow, trim, and blow, and done. And I do that twice a week. I do it like every 3 days. The more you mow your lawn, the thicker it grows. So bomb it with fertilizer, mow the shit out of it, and just basically do what I did last year. No overseeding. I'm just going with a pre-emergent strategy, because my biggest problem is something called Poa annua and Poa trivialis. I have no problems with anything that's a weed. I don't care if it's like a branch. I can nuke all that stuff. I got all the good stuff. But Poa annua and trivialis works just like Kentucky bluegrass, and it's a grass. And it just kind of blends in the spring, and you can't really notice it. And then in the summer, it checks out regardless if you're watering it or not. and then your shit's bright green. And it's like, wow, my beautiful Kentucky bluegrass that's like super blue and green, and this lime green spots all over the place. So Poa annua is an annual grass, and I'm doing something to attack that. And then Poa trivialis is it's not annual, it's a perennial. So it keeps growing. So I don't know how much of that stuff I have to deal with, but I have a plan in mind. But remove some Poa annua. I'll attack the Poa trivialis when my grass is more established, but I want my Kentucky bluegrass to fight and take the land and take over. Eventually, my bluegrass is going to take over my whole yard, but that takes a couple of years. So that's my lawn care pre-planned plan. I'll stick to it for the most part. The sand's going to be quite a job. I actually got 12 tons of gravel because my road was all jacked up. And I probably got that put down in November, but I didn't want to deal with gravel. And I want to focus singularly on the YouTube channel and the lawn. I don't want too many distractions. Hopping back over to VA claims, kind of the same thing with your disabilities, right? You don't want too many disabilities to keep track of. You may have them, but you don't need to file a claim for all of them. Sure, one way to get into the Hundo Club is by adding up 35 things and getting 10% for all of them. Another and better way is using a strategy. 70% for mental health, 50% for migraines, 50% for sleep apnea, 60% for chronic fatigue syndrome, 50% for bilateral plantar fasciitis, which is now 30% on the new schedule. And that's what I have to worry about. And I'm in the Hundo Club, P&T, done. Easier for me to keep track of. I hope you do that as well. Go after the higher value claims. So this will wrap up the grass part. Check out my boot camp. I have an email address that I put out there, and I do live sessions, kind of like I'm doing now. Or don't, you know, but whatever, either way is fine. If you don't like my boot camp or don't think you should pay for anything, then don't. That's, you know, either way is fine. I do a lot of free content on here. And then check out the sponsor of today's video, Hill and Ponton. They're VA accredited attorneys, and they might be able to help you out with your claim. I say might because I don't know. I don't make guarantees. I don't work for them. They just sponsor the videos. They sponsor the channel. So they might be able to help you. They might not. With that, I'll see you in my next rambly video.